Most people don't resist change because they're stubborn. They're just uncertain. When a change occurs, even if it's one you create, there's still uncertainty with it. There are no guarantees. There are changes that we choose to make. There are changes that are forced upon us. And there are different sizes. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the different sizes of change very quickly. We're going to get into real reasons why people resist change, and then I'm going to give you real world strategies that I have used for years and others have used as well that are very effective. I love the topic of change because the longer I live, the more I deal with change, the more things I see, the more things I experience. And I've really worked through this for so many years, and I've learned a lot of techniques. I have worked through personal changes that I will not go into, professional changes. So what I'm going to teach you in this video, you can apply to your personal and professional life. You know, the challenge of change, but the challenge we have today is it's happening. It's so rapid, we can't even describe it. Where years ago, and there are statistics on this, years ago, change was occurring at a much slower pace. And now it's almost minute by minute. Think about your workday, right? Or your day in general, and you think you have it all figured out, and then boom, boom, it's hitting you everywhere. So this is a near and dear to my heart, this topic, and I really, really hope you'll listen to all of it and write down, capture the strategies that I'm going to share with you. So when I talk about change, first of all, yeah, our natural reaction, I said, is it's fear, right? But there are two kinds of changes, those we want and those we don't want. And even the ones we want can be scary. Like when I went from being a secretary of 20 years and getting a regular paycheck and benefits to deciding I want to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to be a speaker and a trainer and I'm going to go out on my own and I'm going to own a business. I wanted it, but it was still very scary. And then change, I look at it, comes in different sizes. You know, there's minor changes, major. And then there's the in-between. So when I talk to groups about this, when we're in class, some of the things they'll say minor changes, getting a new laptop, moving from Android to an Apple, travel, daylight savings time. That's a big one for me because I hate it when it's dark early in the morning and at night. Or starting something at the gym. Well, other people in the group with us will say, oh, that would be major for me. Okay, remember that. I'm going to tell you something about that comment. Major changes, everyone can rattle off quickly. You know, your marital status, moving, a new job, the stock market, yeah, political conflict, divorce, marriage, kids going off to school, kids coming back. So major, yeah, it's funny, everyone can identify those easily. But going back to what I was saying earlier is why one person will look at something and say, no, that's a major change. On the other hand, my personal experience, Dave and I moved out of state 8 times. I don't consider moving major. It's a lot of work. And then I have an older sister who's never moved out of state. And when she was moving from one neighborhood to the next, it was major for her. So do you see, it's subjective. What may be minor to you is going to be major for someone else. And that's why we have to have empathy when we're talking with other people. If you hear someone at work or even in home again in your personal life talking about a change and you're like, that's nothing, that's a piece of cake. Have more empathy because for that person, it could be major. So be there, be supportive. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, why do people resist change? I found this information years and years ago, and Tom Peters was a well-known speaker and author, and I loved his ideas, and then I'm going to share my ideas with you. He said, we resist change because it means a part of our old self must die while a new self is being born. That's usually when we're doing personal change. So if you're trying to personally change in the workplace and get better and incorporate new behaviors, new attitudes, new conversation, you're going to have to let go of other stuff, okay? So you've got to let some things die for new stuff to come in. That's the whole thing. You know, when we're changing, maybe you're going to change. I know a lot of women who change their outer image after going through classes, and we talk about executive presence. and they'll change their dress, or they never wore makeup. Now they wear makeup. Now they're changing their hairdo. They've got to let stuff go so that their new presence can evolve to where they want it. So you can apply this to so many things. We grieve the loss of the familiar as we labor through the painful birth of the strange. This happens often in the workplace, so we actually grieve what we were familiar with. So let's say within an organization, when I used to do training, when we did training on site a lot, prior to 2020. And I'd go into the organizations and they would roll out the red carpet. We'd have a full day training. They'd have big breakfast for everybody. Then they'd have a breakfast break. Then they'd have this fantastic lunch, afternoon snacks galore. Okay, well then I went back to that company several times. Well, over a year or so, things changed. They had a cut on some of the food. And you should have heard the people. They're like, what do you mean we don't get breakfast anymore? What do you mean we're only getting sandwiches for lunch? So, it makes sense. Or let's say a new leader comes into your organization, or maybe you get a new leader and you kind of grieve the old leader, how they were, what they did, how you interacted with them. And now you're just working through this birth of the new relationship. So this is really interesting, right? The next, we've suffered sudden painful events in the past. Obviously, if you have had that happen to you, you're going to be resistant to change. But Tom says, don't let the painful past dictate our future. And then I love the next one. Some people believe changing and aging are somehow linked. Well, my belief is if you don't show that you're changing, you are going to look old. Okay? So the idea being, if we don't change with the times, and even how we talk, the language we use, people are going to think, look at us as the age. And the older you get in the workplace, for those of you who might be baby boomers and out there still working, even now into their 70s, people work. If you want to continue to be thought of as a young, hip person, you've got to know the lingo, what's out there. Like I go to my grandkids all the time to find out. Or I go to my young team members in my company. I love it, that I have those resources right there. Here are mine, what I've seen, what I've observed, what I know, is some people are just not change skilled. It is a skill you can learn. You can learn how to get better and better with change. Riding the wave of change, meaning when we're in it, how do I ride the wave? And then after I ride the wave, I want to thrive is my goal. I think of the word thrive on it because a lot of changes are not good, when it comes to illness or loss of a loved one, but you look at the lessons that you can learn and how you become better through that. Loss of control. When we go through change, a lot of times we don't have control and we don't like that. Would you not agree? You don't want your life in somebody else's hand. But there are some people who really, they're not control freaks. They really don't care. I'll go with whatever. And then the next one, this is interesting. Dislike for unforeseeable events. Some people just don't like surprises. And I can tell you, even when it's a good surprise, because I've done this, surprise people with good news. I think it's good news. And they're like, oh my God, like seriously, really? They just don't like any kind of surprise, even if it's good. Well, you should have told me about that. All right, related aspects of change, let's go through those, and then I'm going to get to the strategies. So when I really delved into this whole piece of change, the other pieces I think of fear, number one, of course. And I mapped out fear. I really started thinking, but fear what? Go deeper. Well, fear of the unknown, definitely. That's probably our first reaction. We don't know where are we going, where are things heading. Even as I continue to evolve myself and in my speaking and different things I'm doing, I'm like, I still don't know. I have a plan, but it's still unknown. Or what will the outcome be? I'm not sure. So it's scary for all of us. Failing. That's a big one, right? Why maybe we don't make a change or do something, or even suggest an idea at work that could create change, because what if you fail? What if the idea doesn't work? That's a big one. This one may interest you, and you may be surprised that we can have a fear of succeeding, because when you're successful, things change. Relationships may change. When you're successful, in the workplace, let's say you have a good idea and it works out and It's very successful. Some of your colleagues may look at you differently. Some of them may just, be a little intimidated by your success. If you succeed, things can change in a good way, but create more for you. In other words, if you're successful and you do a good job at work, guess what? You're going to get more delegated to you. Yep, that's what happens when you're good. You get more, and it's called job security. But anyway, no. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it may mean you're going to have to stay longer at work. You're going to have to juggle more. You may switch up your family situation. So people actually pull, we shouldn't do that. And then this is another one, a fear of losing. If I make this change, but it's what am I going to lose? And people want guarantees. They want you to be able to say, well, if you do this, you make this change from here to here, I guarantee this is going to happen. No. Are you a risk taker? Are you willing to lose in order to win? And I've applied this myself in my own life. Even making a move from Michigan, and then my husband had lost his job after 8 years, and we decided to take a risk and come out here. And my dad couldn't figure out, why are you moving? You have a beautiful home. I thought, because I want to go somewhere else, I'm willing to give up everything and go to a new adventure and create a different life. And it did. And it's been beautiful and wonderful. But I'll also see in the workplace where people will tell me personally a bad situation they're in, where an assistant is with a boss who's verbally abusive or doesn't maybe respect them or belittles them. And do you know what? They will stay in that job. Yeah. Assistants have come to me in tears, but maybe they're 40 or 50 and they're like, I don't know. Am I going to get a job? I don't dare go out there. My phrase is, you have to be willing to lose friendships, situations, material possessions in order to win greater friendships, better ideas, and more meaningful possessions. Comfort zones, definitely. When change happens, we are pulled out of that comfort zone. Just picture this. You're sitting there at work, you're doing your thing, you're going about your life, even in your personal life, you've got your routine, your schedule. Then all of a sudden, change comes, snatches you out of that place, and puts you up in limbo is what I call it. I'm in a place, I'm just hanging out. That's how I view it. I'm like hanging out in space. I'm not where I was. This change forced me out, and I'm not comfortable yet. But do you know what? That new place eventually becomes your comfort zone. So what I picture, just as I told you, I just picture I'm hanging out. I keep telling myself, I'm just hanging out right now. It's okay. It's okay. I'll go through this, especially if it's something scary, right? And so maybe you can think of that, because think about anything you've done that was strange at first and how it became your comfort zone. And then the last related aspect, our belief systems, how strongly we believe that we can get through the change, that we can cope with the change. Makes a difference. If I'm afraid and I'm never going to be able to adjust, I'm not going to be able to do this, it's going to take us a lot longer versus I am strong, I am smart, I am capable, I can get through this. I believe in myself, I believe in my capacity to find the resources to help. So let's go on to the strategies. I'm going to share the strongest. They're all fabulous, they are, but the ones that I especially love to focus on. Sometimes you can use one strategy, sometimes you need 2 or 3. It depends on what's going on. So first, I have anticipate for a reason, because if we can anticipate where we think something is going, we can prepare. We can educate ourselves, or we could talk to other people. So what do you do to anticipate? You have to pay attention in the moment, in the day. See what's going on. Listen to others. If you're reading things at work, read about what could this possibly mean. A real simple example in the workplace, maybe there is new tech that's going to be installed, new programs. And you could wait until they're installed and then you're fumbling trying to learn it and get the work done. Or you could say, maybe I'll do a little reading or research about that first before that shows up, on my computer, or my desktop, or your phone, whatever. Prepare. The next step is to prepare when you're going for change. Gathering relevant information. Stay informed. I always think about, while I maybe can't control this change, but what parts can I do? How can I prepare so that I can really work through that? And again, that makes me feel like I have some control when I don't. Assess, this is about how do you feel with that change? You know, how do you feel about it? Is it making you anxious? Maybe you're energized by it. You know, that's too, it's not all where you're going to be anxious, but you might be energized by something. The next one's important is to visualize. Yes, visualization really works, folks. I've used it all the time, and I've used it through major surgeries and recuperation. So trust me, you have to visualize yourself in that new situation. Visualize. If we visualize doom and gloom, which we do sometimes initially, what is that going to do for us? Like, we can't stay there. You know, we can recognize it's there, but now we want to look to, which is another thing I'm going to actually share with you, and there's two symbols, Chinese symbols, that I learned or saw years ago, that when it's about change, there's two symbols, danger and opportunity. And what I gained from that is to see the danger in a situation, maybe of making a change, making a move, but put all your energy into the opportunity. Where a lot of people, especially pessimists, focus on the danger. It's just danger, danger, don't do it, don't do it. So that is something I hope that helps you. A couple more I want to share with you. Accept, which this isn't always easy. Believe me, I have to work through all of this. I don't have it down pat, but I could tell you, because I have the tools, I move through it faster. It doesn't take me as long. So don't fight it if it's inevitable. I also like this one, get on with your life, you know, in other areas. Don't procrastinate. It's something, here's something I want to throw in, because I'm going through this right now. It's called the waiting room. Right now, I'm waiting for certain things to happen to really grow and evolve and do speaking to women of all walks of life, and, you know, getting out there and just evolving from where I've been. I'm in the waiting room. And so I read something years ago about what do you do when you're in the waiting room? You just do what you know. You get up every day and you do your routine. You do what you know, and that's what you do. And you keep living life while you're in the waiting room. You know, maybe you're waiting for that promotion. You're waiting to move. You're waiting to whatever it is, okay? And then get support. Cannot do change on our own. You know, make sure that you have a good inner circle, as I call it, you know, and not the people who have doubts and fears, because they're not going to be very helpful. So get your circle together. Hang tough. This is probably one of my very, very favorites. It does involve visualization again, but you can do it with your eyes open. And so what I visualize really quickly is that I'm by the beach, because I love the ocean. I'm on the sand. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. There's sparkles coming off the water. The sun's out. Oh, it feels so good. And that's life is going good. All of a sudden, the waves start coming up. The clouds start rolling in. The wind starts blowing. Those are changes coming into my life. And now there's so many coming in that the waves of change are coming over me. I'm hanging on tight for dear life. My feet are dug deep in that sand, and I'm hanging on with everything I've got. And then all of a sudden, the clouds start to move out, the waters start to calm. So the visualization is I might be beat up, I might be a little tired, but I am standing. And then a few others, a gratitude journal. I'm always recommending that you have a gratitude journal. I've done it for years. And so yes, jotting down how you're feeling, but always at the end, write something you're grateful for. And then the last one, purposely change. Don't wait for change to hit you. Purposely change. Take a different route to work. Sleep on the other side of the bed. If you always put your right leg on first, put your left leg on first. Mix up the room. I used to do that with my kids. You know, I tell them, hey, we're going to change places at the table. Change your room around. The idea being, the more you create changes on your own, you're just building that adaptability, and then you're building that muscle. So when changes hit that you don't want, you're building that muscle, you're working your change muscle. So I truly, truly hope these ideas help you, because none of us are going to avoid change. And if you live long enough, you're going to have a lot of changes going on in your life. But there's good news, folks. We can implement strategies. So good luck. These strategies are part of our Star Achievement series by Office Dynamics. This program has been taught in Fortune 500 companies and attended by tens of thousands of office professionals. The program is available virtually, or we can bring that program on site for organizations who want to grow together. If you found this information valuable, I encourage you to watch the rest of the videos. They build on each other. This is a strategic training program, and you will learn so many tools that you can apply in today's workplace. They are real, they are proven techniques, and they are actual techniques that people have lived and seen the benefits from. Thank you for watching.